Electric cars make terrible sports cars, right? While they're good at going fast in a straight line, because they're so heavy with all that battery tech, they're not so good at going round corners or being fun. However, Porsche has the answer. You see, the next Cayman and Boxster, they're going to be electric, and I'll show you what these cars could look like with some exclusive renders a bit later on in this video. However, Porsche is working to ensure those next generation EV versions of the Boxster and Cayman are as good fun as the internal combustion engine models. Oh yes, you can rely on Porsche. I'm not just talking fun in the same way that the Taycan is. These will be proper sports car level fun. Anyway, I'm going to tell you all about that in this video because I'm Matt Watson and you're watching Carwow.
Buying a new car? Then head to Carwow and my team will help you find your next car at a fair price. Carwow, your one-stop car buying comparison site.
Now it makes sense to start this video talking about Porsche sports cars by comparing them to BMWs. It doesn't make any sense. It will do, right? You see, BMW's new i4 M50 electric car, four-wheel drive. It's got 544 horsepower, which is 34 horsepower more than you get with an M3 competition. However, it's slower to 60 miles an hour. Reason being, it's heavier. So it weighs 360 kilos more. Now you can fix that power to weight ratio disadvantage. You just increase the power of the motors. Doesn't change the fact that that car will no way be as good round corners on a track as the M3, which is lighter. So how's Porsche going to fix that problem, eh? Well, it's going to do it by going all in EV. So unlike BMW, which on the i4 uses an internal combustion engine platform, Porsche ain't going to be doing that. I mean, look at the Taycan, for instance. That's a bespoke electric car. Then the next Macan, that's going to be all electric. And the next Cayman and Boxster will be built on bespoke electric architecture. Now, if you're a Tesla fanboy, you're probably thinking, well, so what? You know, Tesla's been at this game for ages. You know, the original Roadster. However, the original Roadster wasn't a bespoke electric car, was it? It was based on a Lotus Elise, and they only sold about 2,000 of them. And yes, I know there's the new Roadster coming eventually, but that isn't a sports car. That's going to be a hypercar. And then there's things like the Rimac Nevera and the Lotus Evija. Once again, they're not sports cars, they're hypercars. They cost over £1 million and have like 2,000 horsepower. Porsche is doing proper electric sports cars. Well, it's going to. The thing about sports cars, it needs to be affordable. Well, sort of. And that's why the new electrified version of the Boxster and the Cayman have to be around a similar price to the current car. So you're talking £50,000 to £80,000. How are they going to do this? Especially when the car is not going to be based on a version of the Taycan platform. It's not going to be based on a version of the forthcoming Macan EV either. What are they going to do? Well, you're probably already aware of Porsche's Mission R concept car. Now, it's a concept, but it points towards them doing a race series with EVs. And Porsche has a history of actually taking what it does with its racing cars and putting it into its road cars. For instance, in the 90s, Porsche was working on an engine for a Formula One car, a V10. They didn't actually put that engine into Formula One racing, but they used it as the basis for the engine in the Carrera GT. Then there's the V8 engine in the 918 Spider. That was derived from the engine in the RS Spider Le Mans car. Now back to the Mission R concept. Even though it's a prototype, it's fully functioning. It has two electric motors, one on each axle. Combined, they produce 1,088 horsepower. 0 to 60, 2.5 seconds. Obviously, the next Cayman or Boxster won't have that much power because they wouldn't be allowed to upstage a 911 Turbo S or a Taycan Turbo S now, would they? However, what the cars would use is the motor from the front. Yeah, you're a bit worried, aren't you? It's like, wait a minute, are you telling me that the next Cayman and Boxster are going to be front-wheel drive? Okay, they'll use the front motor, but at the back. All right, calm down. It'll have 435 horsepower, which is 35 horsepower more than you get in the current Cayman GTS with its 4-litre naturally aspirated flat-six engine. 0 to 60 of that car is 4 seconds, so probably this electrified Cayman will do 0 to 60 in around 3.5 seconds. Now, as well as using part of the Mission R's drive system, it will probably use part of its design as well, but it will also, I think, use part of a recent concept, the Vision Gran Turismo. Combine the two to create the look of the next Cayman and of course Boxster. And if you want to have a look what I think that's going to end up looking like, here's an image. I'm fairly confident this is going to be pretty accurate as well. Reason being, Porsche always does this thing where its concept cars really do heavily influence the eventual road car. For instance, Porsche's Mission E concept looked like this, and the Taycan looks like this. You get the idea. Now you're probably thinking, that's all well and good, Matt. You still haven't addressed the issue with electric sports cars, and that is of course the weight. And you're right. Now, a normal entry-level Cayman weighs in at 1,350 kilos. The entry-level Taycan weighs in at 2,100 kilos. The main reason for that increase in weight is the battery pack. The battery pack on that Taycan weighs 600 kilos. Now, obviously, an electrified Cayman will be smaller than a Taycan, so it'd require a slightly smaller battery, and it's got 2 doors instead of 4 doors and less room inside. So that will bring the weight down a bit, but it's not going to get you anywhere near 1,350 kilos, is it? So what the heck is Porsche going to do? Some of the technologies used on the Mission R concept could help. For instance, that car's body panels are made out of composite natural fibre, which is cheaper than carbon fibre, and it's pretty much just as light. Then there's the fact the gearbox is 3D printed from metal rather than just cast, and that helps save weight. Also, the Mission R has smaller brakes than it would do if it was just a traditional internal combustion engine sports car, because it can rely on regen braking from the motor, so it doesn't need such big brakes. That also helps keep the weight down. That's why this car, despite having a big battery pack and 2 motors, only weighs 1,500 kilos. Now, Porsche will be looking at the technologies used on that concept and seeing which it can use in a cost-effective way on its mass-produced Cayman and Boxster. Now, weight isn't just the only issue, it's the distribution of the weight that also affects how a sports car feels to drive. For instance, with most modern electric cars, they use a skateboard design. That skateboard design helps create lots of interior space. That's great for SUVs. Not ideal for sports cars though. You want them low, and also you want to feel cocooned in them. What Porsche is going to do though, is to use something called the E-Core, which it developed for the Mission R concept. So essentially, they put the batteries where the engine would normally be. So in a lump, just behind the driver, and raised up. Now the benefit of that from a sports car point of view is it means you can sit lower, but also dynamically it helps the car as well, because you've got this weight concentrated more in the center of the car rather than at the edges, which means less inertia for when you're initially turning in. So the car should turn in slightly sharper. Also, having the weight kind of lumped together behind you means that you still retain the dynamic feel of a traditional mid-engine sports car. Porsche isn't the only one that's thinking about location of batteries to help an EV sports car feel like a traditional sports car to drive. Alpine is actually working with Lotus on a car which will use a similar setup. However, their car will be more powerful. So entry level will have about 480 horsepower, whereas the top end one will have around 880 horsepower. So that car will obviously be more expensive than what Porsche is talking about for its Cayman and Boxster. Anyway, I am more interested in what Porsche is going to do. Reason being, fanboy. No, it's not because I'm a fanboy. Well, it's because I'm a fanboy of convertibles. I've always loved a convertible. I've even got an MX-5, which I supercharged. Anyway, enough about that. What I'm interested in, probably more so than the Cayman, is the Boxster. You know, Porsche is still going to make a Boxster. The Boxster was the car that saved them in the 1990s. It's a big seller for them. And so obviously there's going to be a Boxster version of this EV sports car. And do you want to know what that looks like? This is what it's going to look like. Yeah, I know you'll all be saying, oh no, the Cayman's going to be the better one because obviously it'll go 0.1 of a second quicker around the Nürburgring being a coupe. Doesn't really matter. Being able to take the roof off a car, especially a sports car, really just adds to the whole experience of driving it. And that's going to be key, isn't it? To make sure that an EV sports car is as fun as it can possibly be. Obviously you won't have any exhaust note to enjoy. But besides that, wind in their hair thrills really do add to the driving experience. And if it was me and I was ordering one of these cars, I would go for the Boxster over the Cayman. What do you think though? Do you agree with me? We've done a pin comment so you could vote which you'd rather have, an EV Boxster or an EV Cayman. I hope you'll enjoy the video. If you did, give it a like. If you want to watch some more videos, click on those windows there. And if you click on that box there, you can go to carwow to sell your car. All you have to do is upload some photos, brief description, and our dealers will bid on your car to make sure you get a great price for it, hassle-free.